Get ready to have your cosmic comic beliefs challenge you, because today we're diving into a topic that's guaranteed to spark debate. The most powerful beings capable of destroying the entire multiverse. We are going to cover beings of immense power, from the reality-bending chaos of Molecule Man, who effortlessly defeated the Dark Avengers, to the slumbering nightmare that is Azathoth, whose awakening could mean the end of everything. Kicking off our list is the ultimate embodiment of antimatter and destruction, a being so powerful he makes universal threats look like minor inconveniences. The Anti-Monitor, born in the antimatter universe of Quard.
I am the Anti-Monitor.
This cosmic behemoth isn't just a threat, he's the threat that defined multiversal crises for DC Comics. The Anti-Monitor doesn't just conquer, he devours. He consumes entire positive matter realities, absorbing their energy to fuel his insatiable hunger for power, leaving behind nothing but empty, lifeless voids where vibrant universes once existed. Imagine a being that grows stronger with every universe he obliterates, an unstoppable engine of destruction. He possesses the power to manipulate reality itself, effortlessly traveling through time and bending the very fabric of existence to his will. And if that wasn't enough, he commands a legion of shadow demons, terrifying creatures born from antimatter, ready to overwhelm any opposition. During the legendary Crisis on Infinite Earths, the Anti-Monitor very nearly succeeded in his ultimate goal, the complete annihilation of the entire DC multiverse, reducing all of existence to a single antimatter universe under his absolute control. It took the combined might of nearly every hero and villain across countless realities to even slow him down, a testament to his truly terrifying power. At first glance, Protege might appear harmless, even innocent, with a childlike demeanor that belies his truly terrifying potential. But don't let that fool you. This entity possesses arguably the most dangerous ability in any comic book universe, the power to perfectly mimic any power he witnesses, with absolutely no limitations whatsoever. Unlike other power mimicking characters, like Kakashi with his Sharingan limitations, or My Hero Academia's Himiko Toga with her blood requirements, Protege has no such restrictions. He sees it, he copies it, he becomes it, instantly and completely. Imagine the sheer, unadulterated Kate if he encountered beings like the Beyonder, with their reality-warping might, or the Living Tribunal, the judge of the Marvel Multiverse. He wouldn't just copy their powers, he would wield them with the same level of mastery instantly. This potential for unlimited power scaling means Protege isn't just a threat, he's an existential horror. He could theoretically become the most powerful being in the entire multiverse, surpassing even the one above all, simply by observing and replicating their omnipotence. He is the ultimate copycat, taken to a terrifying cosmic extreme. Shrouded in mystery, Skathan the Approver is a celestial of immense power, even among his godlike peers. He's so powerful that even the Living Tribunal calls upon him for assistance. While his full capabilities remain unknown, his judgment holds sway over the fate of entire universes. If he deems a reality unworthy, annihilation could be swift and absolute. The embodiment of life, creation, and destruction, the Phoenix Force is a primal power that can consume entire stars and obliterate realities. While it often takes on a host, its true form is a force of nature that can be both a source of incredible power and unimaginable devastation. Owen Reese, aka Molecule Man, can manipulate matter on a subatomic level, essentially giving him the power to reshape reality with a thought. He's gone toe-to-toe with the Beyonder and even helped recreate the multiverse after it was destroyed. With that kind of power, he could easily unravel the fabric of existence and annihilate everything in his path. He even effortlessly defeated the Dark Avengers when they tried to stop him. So while he may not always want to destroy everything, the sheer untamed power of Molecule Man earns him a solid spot on this list. He's a walking, talking reminder that the greatest threats aren't always the most obvious. Ready to meet the beings who make the Living Tribunal look like a minor inconvenience? Buckle up, because we're diving into the realm of the Beyonders. Existing outside the known multiverse, in a realm beyond comprehension, dwell the Beyonders, a race of nigh-omnipotent beings for whom entire realities are nothing more than scientific curiosities. They don't rule the multiverse, they observe it, treating universes like petri dishes in a cosmic laboratory. Their power is so vast, so far beyond our understanding, that they've casually destroyed countless universes, not out of malice, but out of sheer indifference, or to satisfy their scientific inquiries. They even extinguished the Living Tribunal, a cosmic entity considered one of the cornerstones of the Marvel multiverse, highlighting the sheer scale of their power. Imagine a power so great that the Guardians of Reality are mere insects in comparison. One of their most devastating acts, a testament to their chilling detachment, was the initiation of incursions. These weren't battles or invasions, but rather a calculated experiment. They forced universes to collide with each other, causing mutual annihilation on a scale previously unimaginable, all to see what would happen. If at any point the Beyonders decide the multiverse is no longer of interest, a simple thought, a mere whim, could be enough to erase it from existence, leaving nothing but the void from whence they came. From the cosmic horror of H.P. Lovecraft's mythos comes a being of unimaginable power and utter indifference. Azathoth, the blind idiot god, the nuclear chaos. This isn't a being you can fight, reason with, or even comprehend. Azathoth exists at the center of all existence, a seething, chaotic mass of unimaginable power, perpetually slumbering. Its dreams are reality. The universes, the multiverses, all of existence is merely a byproduct of Azathoth's chaotic, unconscious mind. There's no grand design, no benevolent creator, just the mindless churning thoughts of this monstrous entity. The truly terrifying aspect of Azathoth isn't its power, but its complete lack of awareness. If it were to awaken, even for a fleeting moment, the entire multiverse, everything we know and everything that could ever be, would simply cease to exist. Not through some grand act of destruction, but because the very fabric of reality is dependent on Azathoth's continued slumber. It would dissolve into ultimate formless chaos, the dream shattered, the dreamer awake. And here's the truly mind-blowing, existentially terrifying thought that keeps Lovecraft fans up at night. What if our own reality, our universe, our lives, are nothing more than a fleeting figment of Azathoth's chaotic dream? And what happens when the dreamer inevitably wakes up? This might come as a surprise, but the Beyonder isn't a singular entity as we previously thought. He's actually a younger member of the Beyonders race, and some believe he could be a Kang variant in disguise. Regardless of his true identity, the Beyonder possesses reality warping powers that rival even the most powerful cosmic entities. He can reshape universes, control minds, and even defy death. If he ever turned his attention to destroying the multiverse, it would be a cosmic catastrophe of epic proportions. The Fulcrum is the embodiment of balance in the Marvel multiverse, overseeing the forces of creation and destruction. While its true nature remains shrouded in mystery, it's believed to be an aspect of the one above all. With that kind of power, it could easily tip the scales and annihilate the multiverse to restore equilibrium. And finally, the top spot goes to the ultimate power in the Marvel multiverse, the one above all. This supreme being is essentially the god of the Marvel universe, with absolute power over all of creation. It can reshape reality, rewrite history, and even bring back the dead. If it so desired, the one above all could erase the multiverse with a mere thought.
Number 10. Magus. The evil side of Adam Warlock, Magus' story is a complex one filled with general cosmic confusion, but I'll simplify. Basically, Magus is an evil alternate future version of Adam Warlock, who was created to oppose Thanos. He got bumped around through time and found himself educated by chaos and order. He used what he learned as principles to build his own faith and his own church, going on to use this burgeoning religion to fuel a holy war which would rage throughout the cosmos. Pretty impressive. He later wreaked havoc with an army of evil doppelgangers of all of the heroes, who even proved too much for Thanos originally to handle. You know you're serious when Thanos is like, whoa, jeez. Number 9. The Beyonder. The one we know as Beyonder is in fact only a young member of a group of others known as such. Beyonders. The Beyonder is a mysterious cosmic being who came to our Earth and found himself obsessed with the fact that everyone on Earth was only a part of themselves and incomplete, as he realized there were many different alternate universes in which they all seemed to also live. He was the one responsible for creating the first battle world in the original Secret Wars event, where he pitted heroes and villains against one another. He is known for his ability to manipulate reality and for his apparent limitless power when it comes to his mental and physical strength. In other words, you don't mess with the Beyonder messes with you. Number 8. Parallax. Parallax is basically an intergalactic fear parasite, but he kinda wasn't always such. Originally, Parallax was simply evil Hal Jordan. DC had likely turned him evil to get rid of him while Kyle Rayner took over as the Green Lantern, brought in to help refresh Green Lantern comics, and reignite some sales for the series. It wasn't until much later that we would find out that the evil actions of Hal were not his fault, really, and that he was under the influence of a parasite whose name he had adopted at that time, Parallax. It turned out that this cosmic being had been imprisoned within the central power battery on Oa, where willpower was being used to contain it. The Guardians of the Universe knew this, but they decided to keep it a secret for fear that, someone would release the entity. In the end, Sinestro was the one who awakened it after being trapped in the battery himself. I mean, probably a bad move to trap him in there, to be honest. With like a fear parasite. I feel like you're already seeing that's probably not going to go well. His hatred of Hal Jordan turned Parallax onto Hal. Parallax worked for years to increase Hal's inner fear and self-doubt, and even was responsible for turning the hair around his temples white. Yeah, fun fact, that was Parallax. Now you know. And knowledge is power. Number 7. Brainiac. Brainiac is a famous villain known for shrinking the city of Kandor on Superman's homeworld of Krypton. He comes from the planet Kolu. He is brilliant but also fairly weak when it comes to, swinging punches. In one iteration, he could not even leave his spaceship for fear of being killed from all the diseases and illnesses on planet Earth's surface, as his immune system was low when it came to Earthborn illnesses. As time has progressed, however, Brainiac moved from being a lesser-known cosmic plot device to a bona fide supervillain. He even at one point attempted to strengthen himself dramatically after finding out his current body was dying. Brainiac plotted to possess Doomsday's body as his own. Well, this plot was eventually foiled. For a time, this merging of Brainiac's mind and Doomsday's body made him one of the most powerful beings in the universe. For a little while. Fortunately, it all got foiled. Dang it. Too powerful. Number 6. Phoenix Force. The Phoenix Force is both a terrifying and kind cosmic entity. The terror it induces, in fact, really only exists because it is so powerful, and often many are unable to contain its power, eventually becoming corrupted and evil as a result. The Phoenix Force itself, however, has often seemed selective in regards to who it would grant power to, although it did seem like not super picky when it bonded with Thanos' son Thane, who was just about to die at the time. I don't really know why else it picked Thane. I guess Thane's kinda cool. Is he cool? I don't know. You let me know in the comments. Do you think Thane is cool? The Phoenix itself has seemed to always prefer Jean Grey as a host when it has the option, but it will settle for others who it feels has a certain amount of potential. The Phoenix has always allowed its hosts insanely destructive powers. If used for such, it has been known to destroy entire planets. There's a lot of planet destroyers in the cosmos I'm noticing a pattern. Number 5. Anti-Monitor. Anti-Monitor represents everything antimatter and evil. There are a few different stories that explain where he comes from, but in essence, his existence is tied to the multiverse. Both he and his heroic counterpart Monitor are in fact tied to the multiverse themselves. Anti-Monitor has been shown as a comic villain who strives to end all of the alternate worlds within DC, and he and the Monitor are often referred to as the ones who shook everything up dramatically for us in the DC comic book world, originally during the Crisis on Infinite Earths storyline. Anti-Monitor has been perceived as one of the most unstoppable foes the DC heroes have encountered when it comes to his powers. He has reality warping powers, which he used to remove Psycho Pirate's face, and he can absorb the energy around him, even managing to use this ability to suck dry entire universes. Not just worlds, entire universes! He's like, I'll take that alternate, I'll take that alternate, I want some fries with that, delicious. Number 4. Darkseid. Darkseid was born on the planet Apocalypse and was originally known as Prince Euxus, second son to the king and queen of the planet. Despite being second in line, the prince aspired to one day rule the planet. He murdered his own brother to seize more power, taking the name Darkseid afterwards, and eventually killed his own mother for poisoning his love Sully. His whole story is very Shakespearean and very Greek tragedy, complete with a prophecy that one of his sons would one day defeat him in battle. Darkseid is often presented as the enemy of the Justice League. He killed half of the Amazonians in Themyscira when they refused to help him overthrow the Olympian gods. He has always been obsessed with control and power, so much so that he pursued the anti-life equation, which grants its owner full control over those who are exposed to it, stripping the victims of their free will. That's what Darkseid is into. He's like, no free will. Do what I say. It's like a really bossy parent. That's Darkseid. Number 3. Thanos. Similar to DC's Darkseid in many ways. Born an Eternal on his home planet, Titan, Thanos would grow up to be a fearsome disappointment to his parents, especially his mother, whom he would eventually end up killing. Thanos was always pulled towards evil and darkness, even from a young age, as he became obsessed with a love of death. His love of Mistress Death, who usually appears as a concept in sexy lady form in the comics, would drive him to kill entire worlds in her honor, causing him to be known as the Destroyer of Worlds. As a result, the Mad Titan is often categorized as being one of the greatest threats in the comic book world, often perceived as an almost unstoppable force, and it is only when all the heroes of the cosmos or of Earth come together that they even stand a chance in stopping him, though he has killed them all before even, so there you go. In Volume 2 of the Thanos series, he managed to wipe out everyone in the universe, save for a Mjolnir-wielding Silver Surfer, though he eventually killed him too, so Thanos is one of those inevitable villains. He's always going to show up, he's always going to kill everyone. But don't worry, you'll all come back, it'll be fine. Number 2. Doomsday. Doomsday is one of those villains I almost feel bad for. He can't help himself. He originated on prehistoric Krypton and was created through a series of evolutionary experiments conducted by Bertrand. Have you ever noticed how evolution-based scientists always tend to be bad news? Like, they're all evil, what's up with that? Bertrand basically kept cloning the same deceased baby's remains after its death to speed up the evolutionary process of their genes, causing them to adapt slightly with each death. Because comics. The result ended up being Doomsday, who eventually was able to resurrect himself after each death he suffered just on his own. And due to dying so many times and being experimented on and tortured throughout his genetic history, he grew to hate life. It is this hatred that has made him such a ferocious enemy, as all he often wants to do is kill and destroy. He eventually made his way to Earth after falling through a tear in space-time, terrorizing a planet for years, and after being thought dead was shot out into space. And he landed on Earth. True story. Number 1. Galactus. This hungry supervillain is so ingrained in the existence of the universe that we once learned in an alternate universe that eliminating him in the comics had actually been a bad idea, prompting Franklin Richards to take his place. Galactus was once a scientist known as Galen, trying to save his home world from the end of, well, not just their world, but the entire universe. Sadly, he realized that resistance was futile, and he and the rest of his people decided to accept their fate and instead fly into their own doom. Miraculously, Galen survived and found himself chosen. Probably felt pretty bad about that. He was granted with great cosmic power, but with it came great hunger, causing him to eventually become the Devourer of Worlds we so famously know him as.
Number 10. Flash Gordon. Dun 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 dun. Flash! Savior of the universe! Well, Alex Raymond created Flash Gordon in 1934 solely to compete with another futuristic space hero, Buck Rogers. The character set itself apart as Flash's adventures took him farther and farther into the strange worlds and locations of space. The handsome polo-playing Earthling was transported to an alien world dealing with the rule of a horrible evil ruler, Ming the Merciless. Flash became a hero to the world of Mongo, fighting alongside characters like Prince Vultan of the Hawkmen and Prince Baron, the displaced ruler of Mongo, to overthrow the villainous Ming. In the 1950s, Flash became an astronaut who traveled to other planets besides Mongo. Using starships that can travel faster than light, the long story of the Scorpio War takes Flash to other star systems. Flash and friends also fought a bunch of other villains, including Azura, the Witch Queen, Brucca, chieftain of the Giants of Phrygia, the Red Sword organization on Earth, and Brazor, the tyrannical usurper of Tropica. His story and adventures only carry on with other writers and into that really campy but awesome movie. Number 9. Green Lantern. Though many characters have held the title of Green Lantern, none is as iconic as Hal Jordan. Hal was a test pilot who found a dying alien, Abin Sur, in the wreckage of a crashed spaceship who was a member of the Green Lantern Corps, an intergalactic police force that wielded strange power rings. In his dying moments, Abin Sur passed his ring on to Hal Jordan, drafting him into the Corps and granting him the power to create anything his mind could envision Jordan, so long as he remained totally honest and completely fearless. Although Hal Jordan's assigned sector of the universe includes Earth, it also includes about 33 other planets, all of which need his and his other Green Lantern's help. And that's not including the whole rest of the universe, which also falls under the care of the Green Lantern Corps as a whole. Hal Jordan has had many ups and downs as a character, even at one time betraying the Green Lantern Corps and eventually giving his life to redeem himself. Don't you worry, he eventually returned to life in Jeff Johns' landmark miniseries Green Lantern Rebirth, which I highly recommend you read. Number 8. Captain Marvel. An alien warrior named Mar-Vell, whose adventures eventually brought him to Earth and into the path of the Avengers, was the individual who would first go by the name Captain Marvel in Marvel Comics. Wielding a pair of energy-wielding negabands, and with the ever-useful cosmic awareness, Mar-Vell found himself voyaging through strange worlds in an iconic example of the way-out superhero space stories taking place at Marvel Comics in the 70s. Though Mar-Vell passed away due to cancer in the early 1980s, the Captain Marvel name did not. Monica Rambeau was the second person to hold the title in the comics after Mar-Vell. Monica's powers are truly extraordinary. She can transform herself into any form of energy on the electromagnetic spectrum, such as light or X-rays. She can also use that energy to fly through space at the speed of light, generate energy beams, become intangible, and more. She was even powerful enough to stop the symbiote god Null during his first invasion. The most recent holder of the Captain Marvel title, however, would be Carol Danvers. She began her career as Miss Marvel in 1977's Miss Marvel #1 after meeting Mar-Vell in 1968's Marvel Superheroes #13, and he exposed her to the energies that transformed her into a human Kree hybrid. And her powers have evolved significantly since her debut. She can generate energy blasts of varying scope as well as absorb energy attacks that are extremely volatile. Captain Marvel is also generally invulnerable to magic and, in the recent comics, is even exploring using magic herself, making her even more powerful. Number 7. Martian Manhunter. Though many people don't realize it, John Johns, the Manhunter from Mars, is one of DC Comics' most powerful superheroes. This quiet and humble Martian, in addition to possessing all of the many powers that Kryptonians also share, is also a shapeshifter who can morph his body however he wishes and is one of the DC Universe's most powerful telepaths. He can turn invisible, effortlessly phase through solid objects, or make his fists as hard as a diamond as he punches someone in the face, nearly as hard as Superman can. He was a law enforcement officer on Mars before he became a detective on Earth when he was marooned here, but being an alien, he is intrinsically tied to the wider galaxy and has many adventures that go out into the stars. But like many cosmic superheroes, he has a quiet, reserved personality which, when you learn just how incredibly powerful he is, it makes you just respect him that much more. Number 6. Silver Surfer. Silver Surfer has a pretty iconic internal fight. The constant struggle between responsibility and morality in a universe where evil is often more necessary than good. Sorry, I read that quote while I was making this video and gosh, it's just so good. The Surfer was originally Norrin Radd, an astronomer from the planet Zen-La. When Radd discovered that Galactus, the Devourer of Worlds, had come to devour Zen-La's life force, Radd struck a deal with the cosmic entity to seek out uninhabited planets that Galactus could consume. Eventually, Galactus became aware of Earth and set out to make it his next meal. The Surfer arrived just in time to warn the Fantastic Four of Galactus' arrival, which was what initiated his initial reveal into the universe of Marvel in Fantastic Four number 48 to 50, and started a great relationship between the Surfer and the superhero family. The Silver Surfer's adventures often center on philosophical conundrums as much as physical challenges, and Stan Lee has used the Surfer as a vessel to express some of the writer's own worldviews. As for his powers, he is in possession of the power cosmic, which granted him both power projection and absorption, as well as a degree of matter manipulation and even soul manipulation, among many other abilities. Number 5. Superman. Superman often finds himself exploring the far-flung reaches of other galaxies as well as defending Earth, and specifically his city of Metropolis. Stories frequently find the superhero in locations ranging from the region of space where his birth planet Krypton once orbited, which, fun fact, according to Neil deGrasse Tyson, is in the Corvus constellation near red dwarf LHS 2520. in case you wanted to know that, I don't know. 2. Planets like New Genesis and Apocalypse, the twin home of the New Gods. Stories have seen him holding black holes with his hands, moving solar systems, punching death, and he broke Highfather's staff out of the Source Wall, which is the barrier between us and the unifying force of the universe. Which my puny brain cannot really even comprehend what that means, so we're just gonna carry on. Okay. Number 4. Orion of the New Gods. Orion is a new god and the son of Darkseid, and as a hero with a dark ancestry, he is quite the conflicted do-gooder. He has many forms and he has many abilities. He exists beyond the normal multiverse on a higher plane called the Sphere of the Gods. Born on Apocalypse but adopted by the New Gods of New Genesis, Orion is in a constant war with his inner darkness and with his father, Darkseid. Orion is repeatedly praised and stated to be a warrior with skill and ferocity second to none. While undercover on Apocalypse, he was the greatest warrior and would have slaughtered the entire army during training, quote unquote. He has held open the hand of the god of strength and might who is threatening creation and ripping holes in reality with his strength. He stands against and fights a sun-amped Superman one-on-one, something no one else in the Justice League was able to do. And he can tank star system destroying explosions, so there's that. Orion moves with the speed of thought. His intelligence was enough that he created the Genesis box, which can destroy and rebuild a universe. He can grow to any size, move through time, has a healing factor, super senses, and wields the Astro Force, which does a hell of a lot on top of everything, but as an example, it once sealed holes in reality and knocked out Superman in a single shot. And that's all just Orion holding back and not using his true power called the Source of the Beast. But I think we can all agree Orion is the beast here. Number 3. Adam Warlock. Adam Warlock is one of the most powerful cosmic characters, maybe not just in Marvel Comics. He was the keeper of the Soul Gem, and beyond the powers that comes with, which allowed him to pass back and forth into the Soul World, he is immortal, able to regenerate himself and gain new powers using a cocoon, and can manipulate matter and energy on a cosmic scale. Warlock was created by a group of researchers who called themselves the Enclave. Their goal was to create the perfect human being, the pinnacle of future human evolution. The creature they had created emerged and immediately sensed that something was not quite poppin' with his creators. They wanted to use him for evil, so he escaped and became Space Jesus in the Marvel Universe, and there is no other appropriate title for him. I don't care what you say. He has destroyed and rebuilt reality, is the avatar of life, and has even become the living tribunal, otherwise known as the Judge of the Universe. Number 2. Divinity from Valiant Comics. Abram Adams, otherwise known as Divinity, is an incredibly powerful godlike hero who appears in Valiant Comics. He's a lot like Watchmen's Dr. Manhattan, who may be coming up later, I don't know. His power is so great that he is basically a god. Knowing full well the impact his actions could have, he doesn't really involve himself in human level issues, letting us instead learn from the mistakes we naturally make, which we rarely seem to do. Abram came into his power after joining the army of the Soviet Union and taking on a 30-year-long mission into deep space. Abrams and his partners came upon a planet at the end of the galaxy, or beyond, called the Unknown. After removing his helmet, Abram Adams breathed in the air of the unknown and was changed. The powers bestowed upon Divinity are as such: chronokinesis, which is the ability to manipulate time, forced evolution and de-evolution, energy manipulation, molecular manipulation, reality warping, flight, solar flare and heat vision, telepathy. He has super senses, can survive in space and other vacuums, not vacuum cleaners, but I'm sure he'd do fine inside one of those too. And in case you haven't guessed it, he is also immortal. I think of all the heroes on this list, Divinity is easily one of the most powerful. But no, number 1. Number 1. Dr. Manhattan. After he was destroyed and reconstituted from the atomic experiment gone wrong, John Osterman, also known as Dr. Manhattan, has no need for food, sleep, or oxygen and no longer ages. He has nigh omniscience and possesses an understanding of the workings of the universe on a cosmic scale, which puts him comfortably in this list. But more than that, he has reality warping and matter manipulation powers, allowing him to end literally everything if he wants to, which he foresaw himself doing, so he obviously has precognition even as far as a millennium into the future, and he can even see alternate possible futures. He has causality and time manipulation, which allowed him to return the metaverse to how it was before the interference and remove 10 years from the universe's timeline, creating the New 52 in DC Comics. In a crazy show of power, John experiences all the reboots in DC continuity, and yet he remains unaffected, and additionally, John exists in every timeline all at once, meaning that he has duplication and dimensional travel abilities as well. He possesses elemental manipulation, creating a ring of blue fire, producing an oxygen field, creating water, and producing electricity. He can phase through things, create human life, make plants grow. He has instantly analyzed and learned magic after being attacked with it, and absorbed energy from a Green Lantern ring, and even absorbed magical attacks. Dr. Manhattan is basically a cosmic god. So, number 1. Starting off at number 10 today is Null. Null is the literal eldritch god of all symbiotes, their creator. Null existed before the current version of the universe ever even came be, in the black void of nothingness. One of his very first acts after he was awoken by the light created by the formation of the universe was creating the all-black Necrosword. This was the very first symbiote, and it was immensely powerful. Using it, Null was able to slice the head clean off of a Celestial. For this insane feat of power, he was banished to a void where he worked more and more on the sword, and eventually he broke free and went out into the universe with the intent of wiping out various different gods until he was defeated and he lost the sword to Gore the God Butcher. And if we want to talk about villains who should have been more powerful in the MCU, he's top of the list. Null then goes on to make more and more symbiotes, all share a hive mind under the control of Null. They eventually rebel and imprison Null inside the symbiote homeworld Clintar, which is actually symbiote for Cage. He's one of the strongest villains Marvel Comics has shown us. He faced off against all the Earth's heroes and nearly won. He has awoken, enslaved, and controlled Celestials, and even defeated the Sentry, ripping him in half and absorbing the Void. The only thing that defeated him was Eddie Brock's Venom, wielding the Unipower, aka Captain Universe, the protector of the universe and the opposite to everything that Null represents. Number 9. Abraxas. Abraxas is the polar opposite of the cosmic entity known as Eternity. This essentially means his whole reason for existing is to destroy all of the multiverse, which, I'll be honest, there are a few different characters in Marvel who exist for that very reason. And funnily enough, a bunch of them are on this list. Abraxas is also tied to the incredibly unstoppable cosmic entity Galactus. Whenever Galactus would consume a planet, it would keep Abraxas in check. So, when Galactus was actually destroyed in a story called Galactus the Devourer, Abraxas was released and begins his path of ultimate destruction. As a cosmic entity, Abraxas's powers are essentially limitless, and his whole existence is kind of important to the universe, which means he can't really be taken out like a normal villain would be. So, the question of how he was defeated is kind of important. In Fantastic Four number 48 to number 50, we learned of an incredibly powerful tool called the Ultimate Nullifier. It was used back then to threaten Galactus and stop him from destroying the Earth. Reed Richards ended up using the Ultimate Nullifier to essentially rewrite reality, remaking it so that Abraxas just never existed. Abraxas is so unstoppable that we essentially needed a Deus Ex Machina to defeat him. Number 8. The Chaos King. Amatsu Mikubashi, first appearing in Thor Blood Oath number 6 in 2006, is the Japanese god Chaos, evil, and an aspect of the cosmic being known as Oblivion. Mikubashi ruled and thrived over the Earth when it was nothing more than a formless void of primordial darkness, and as such, his goal now is to bring it back to that age of chaos and void and darkness. He is a primordial being who was imprisoned in Yomi, the Shinto underworld, where he remained for centuries, accruing an army of Oni, Shinma demons, and other monsters. During the events of Ares, god of war, Chaos King attacks Olympus after he had defeated and controlled the Japanese pantheon after the fall of Asgard during Ragnarok. This is what kickstarts his mission in Chaos War, where he slays the Egyptian gods, Celtic gods, Shi'ar are gods and gods of Zen law. He takes out Nightmare in the dream dimension, destroys Mephisto somehow, and casts Mistress Death out of hell, making her literally run away, and releases the souls of the damned. He has the power to defeat eternity and is practically unfazed by attacks from the likes of someone like Zeus. God Hercules, Galactus, Silver Surfer, and Thor teamed up together but could not defeat Chaos King. To win, this insanely powerful god of gods, Hercules, had to punch him into a portal to an endless void of nothingness. And this was after he had already destroyed about 98% of the universe. Number 7. Galactus. The being formerly known as Galen of the planet Ta lived before the modern cosmos in the previous iteration of the cosmos. Galen gestated with the sentience of the universe for billions of years, transforming into the devourer of worlds, finding sustenance by ingesting entire planets, preferably those with living sentient beings that have much more energy for him to harness. He is sort of bringing balance to the universe, kind of like how life is given and taken away every day on Earth, which makes him an essential part of the universe. He's known for the destruction of the Skrull Empire and has attempted to devour the Earth on so many different occasions. And I guess he's tried to devour other planets too, for that matter, but you know, like, whatever. Galactus is also famous for his heralds though, such as Silver Surfer, the Fallen One, and the Cosmic Ghost Rider, to name a few. And while they are all powerful beings themselves, usually even before they gain the herald power boost, they don't actually hold a candle to Galactus himself. His only caveat is that Galactus's power depends on his planet's consumption. So a weakened Galactus who hasn't eaten a planet has been taken out before, but if he eats like 4 or more planets, he's pretty much unstoppable and has been able to defeat multiple mad celestials by himself. He's powered by food, and I think pretty much all of us can understand that. Number 6. The One Below All. In Marvel Comics, there is a character called the One Above All, who hasn't really been seen all too often, but is essentially the equivalent to God or the Creator. We have gods like Odin and Zeus and Thor in Marvel Comics and the MCU, but this is a little bit different. The One Above All is like the god of everything, the supreme ruler of creation and compassion. It's even been represented as the writers of Marvel at one point, to give you an idea. So, the One Below All, as you can imagine, is the antithesis to this, the personification of destruction and hate. Another way of looking at it is that the One Below All is actually the One Above All's hulked out form, although that makes things a little bit more complex in some ways. The One Below All is trapped in the below place and manifests itself in reality through gamma and gamma mutates. Basically, this means that Hulk and the other gamma mutated beings have fractions of the One Below All's power and can be taken over by the One Below All for him to try and escape and destroy literally everything. In an alternate future, the One Below All actually does this, taking over Bruce Banner's body and using his power to devour the cosmic entity Eternity and eradicate all life in not only this version of the cosmos, but even going into the next iteration of the multiverse, ensuring that nothing in the universe will ever continue to be. Luckily, this is prevented in the Immortal Hulk story, but I'm telling you, go read it. Number 5. The Black Winter. You know, Galactus made this list, but why choose him when we can choose the bigger version of Galactus? Where Galactus consumes individual planets, the Black Winter devours entire realities. The Black Winter, the Star Plague, the Blightstorm, the Rot Blizzard, or the Fimbulwinter, if you want, was the one who brought the end of the 6th iteration of the universe, leaving only Galen of the planet Ta, like we talked about before. When the Black Winter arrives in the Marvel Universe, this iteration of it, in the latest run of Thor, Galactus turns an All-Father Thor who possesses the Thor Force into his Herald of Thunder, granting him the power cosmic, and an attack from this Thor only stops the Black Winter for a total of 14 seconds. That's how powerful this multiversal entity is. Luckily, at this time, the Black Winter isn't here to destroy the universe. He is just here for his herald, Galactus. But luckily, Thor turns Galactus into a massive power cosmic explosion that destroys the Black Winter in his entirety, and it's incredibly awesome. Number 4. Thanos. Thanos, who made his debut in Iron Man number 55, February of 1973, has only one goal, and that goal is to conquer the galaxy. Sort of. If you are only familiar with his movie adaptation, then you may not know that comics Thanos is not really much of an altruistic dude. The Mad Titan doesn't seek to eliminate half of life in the known universe in order to create a better one, he simply wanted to impress a girl, but not in the same way you might think. Thanos has a thing for death. In fact, he fell in love with the Mistress Death, who is the physical embodiment of death in Marvel Comics. To prove his love to her, he was going to destroy all the life in the universe, and that's what led to him assembling the Infinity Stones and trying to wield the Cosmic Cube. He's really just a cosmic level serial unaliver. Thanos was born on Titan, a moon of Saturn, and is technically an Eternal, but he possessed a deviant gene which made him very different looking. He was bullied for this as a child, and as such Thanos distances himself from the society, and he even starts dissecting animals. He has gone far in his obsession with Mistress Death, kidnapping his own mother and taking her apart, training his daughter to become an assassin, and even sending a targeted nuclear strike at his own homeworld. He has the power of telekinesis and matter manipulation, has superhuman intellect, can master any technology, time travel, teleport, and is an incredibly powerful and scary dude. Number 3, the Beyonder. The Beyonder is a singular entity with no duplicate versions of himself in other universes, similar to the Phoenix. And a lot like the Phoenix, Beyonder is basically like a baby, in that he is a younger member of a race called the Beyonders, that are a near omnipotent alien race from a dimension outside of the multiverse. He is himself basically a whole universe. It's really hard to explain, but as he observes Earth and the Marvel Universe and the various races, he grows curious, and the Beyonder decides to study and analyze life and humanity, good and evil, and conflict, and to that purpose he pits Earth's mightiest heroes and villains against each other in the Secret Wars, the very first one. Now he did this by destroying an entire system of planets and creating Battle World from the remains and from parts of Earth, so that's one level of power right there. Beyonder's powers surpass that of Eternity and the Living Tribunal himself, and he is capable of manipulating reality to his will, being able to pretty much do whatever he wants and grant himself any power he wants. It is more nuanced, but it's incredibly difficult to explain, and I don't have that much time, so we're moving on. Number 2, Dormammu. Dormammu is one of a race of extra-dimensional energy beings called the Faltine. Him and his sister Umar are both mutants of the species who seek to consume matter instead of energy, which is a big no-no among the Faltine, and along with taking out their own pops, it caused them to be banished. They both traveled to the Dark Dimension, and eventually Dormammu took it over. Dormammu is the prime enemy of the Vishanti, the gods who give the Sorcerer Supreme his supreme merch, and is stated by Odin to be his equal in power. He is more powerful than even the greatest sorcerers, including Doctor Strange and the Ancient One, and he can banish anyone from his domain, the Dark Dimension, but usually fights them for a bit of the old sport. He also has super strength, astral projection, matter transmutation, interdimensional teleportation, flight, can change his appearance and size, can control the elements, time travel, and project and absorb energy. He's also immortal, if that mattered, and has a regenerative healing factor, which seems kinda useless if you're immortal, but hey, I just work here. And finally, in at number 1 is Shuma Gorath. Shuma Gorath is one of the greatest of the leaders of the Old Ones, also known as the Many-Angled Ones. Think like Lovecraftian old gods, and that's basically the Old Ones, so cosmic horror, tentacles, and madness, all that good stuff. Shuma Gorath is the ruler of hundreds of dimensions and is said to be older than the universe itself. It has many mystical powers, including the ability to communicate and control others across dimensions, create mystical energy blasts from his eye and tentacles, and can transmute things on a planetary scale. He can destroy multiple galaxies with his aura pressure ability, and can destroy realities by using his tentacles to create a ball of energy that he just launches at entire realities. I don't even know how that makes sense. They first fully premiered in Marvel Premiere Volume 1, number 10, and in the comic, Shuma Gorath ends up using the mind of the Ancient One, Doctor Strange's mentor, as a portal to the dimension of Earth. Doctor Strange goes into the Ancient One's mind to battle the defenses of Shuma Gorath and fight his way into its realm, only to realize that the only way to win and to defeat Shuma Gorath is to actually take out the Ancient One himself. He's forced to do it, and it leads to him becoming the Sorcerer Supreme for the very first time.
Starting us off in at number 10, Hyperion. Hyperion is a superhero who's had multiple iterations over the years. For starters, his first appearance was as a member of the Squadron Sinister, a villainous team that was based on the Justice League from DC Comics, with Hyperion being a loose parody of Superman. He was later reimagined as an alien who was raised by the government, having been sent to Earth in a spacecraft as a child. Where does that sound familiar? He was found by the US government and trained into a covert agent. In addition to that, his powers are very similar to the Man of Steel's. Even his weaknesses feel like a different take on kryptonite. His powers and energy are diminished when he's exposed to something called argonite radiation. Yeah, So obviously Hyperion's similarities to Superman are the reason why this character would be difficult to adapt. Imagine the press storm over it. Plus, Marvel Studios has done a great job at depicting flawed superheroes so far, and adding a Superman type to that roster might feel a little overbearing. In at number 9, the One Above All. The One Above All is responsible for the existence of all life in the multiverse, and possibly beyond that. It's omnipotent, and above all other cosmic powers and abstract entities, including the Living Tribunal, who it is said to be the overseer of. The One Above All first appeared in Marvel Comics in 2007, in Sensational Spider-Man Volume 2 Issue 40, and is also known as Above All Others. Its abilities are beyond any known system of abilities, same as its strength levels. So with a character that abstract, considering that we're potentially getting a glimpse of the Living Tribunal in Avengers Endgame, it seems unlikely that the MCU would be eager to introduce something of such immense power, especially since the Living Tribunal was the one who fit the bill as exactly that for decades and decades prior to the One Above All even being introduced. In at number 8, the Vishanti. Similar to our last number, the Vishanti are pretty abstract entities. They are a trio of godlike beings, made up of Hoggoth, Agamotto, and Oshtur. Each of their histories are made up of really intense lore that intertwine with other entities and gods in the Marvel Universe. Oshtur was one of the Elder Gods, one of the first life forms ever created when the Demiurge, the planet's sentient biosphere, breathed life into the world. Hoggoth is the last survivor on an ancient alien pantheon, and Agamotto is the child of Oshtur. All that being said, the Vishanti are patrons of the Sorcerer Supreme, and there have been connections via Doctor Strange to them that have made their way into the MCU. That being said, exploring them further than that seems incredibly unlikely, since they are so separate from the rest of the Marvel Universe and have only ever really made cameos from time to time. But this also seems like a case of never say never, so who knows, maybe they'll show up in an upcoming Doctor Strange film after all. And at number 7, Superior Spider-Man. If you're unfamiliar with the character, the Superior Spider-Man is not Peter Parker. It's Otto Octavius in Parker's body. So once upon a time in the comics, Octavius was dying and decided to switch bodies with Peter Parker so he could live, all by swapping their consciousness into one another. Parker didn't see it coming and was trapped in Otto's body, ultimately consumed by his illness and died. Otto then took over Peter's life and the Spider-Man persona, calling himself the Superior Spider-Man, because he felt he was superior. The storyline got some major backlash, and Parker was eventually returned, with Otto learning a few important lessons in the process. Naturally, based on the criticism, it seems unlikely that Marvel Studios would ever want to recreate that storyline up on the big screen, especially when Spider-Man actor Tom Holland has quickly become adored amongst audiences. And at number 6, Hercules. Marvel's take on Hercules has always been considered a great one. Plucked out of Greek mythology and into the panels of modern-day comics, Hercules has played an avid role in the universe, including participating during the first Civil War story event. He's also acted as a good inclusion in Thor's storylines from time to time, but that is exactly why we won't likely see him up on the big screen. Thor pretty much has the market on superheroes rooted in mythology. That's not to say we won't ever see other mythologies pop up in the MCU, but right now it kind of seems like it might be adding unnecessary components into the universe. In addition to that, Hercules is a character who has had a ton of portrayals over the years, including in the animated Disney one. It would seem likely that Disney wouldn't want to confuse the two in case they ever want to revamp their animated one into a live action story like some of their other classic tales. And at number 5, Origin. Origin is a fascinating cosmic entity. It's been charged with creating the origins of various events in the universe and the origins of superpowered beings. It is claimed to be the one who conjured the cosmic storm that gave the Fantastic Four their powers. It has also claimed to have been the one who made it possible for Thor and the Asgardians to find their way to Earth. It chose who would become a mutant, and it planted the locations of Earth in the minds of the Silver Surfer, Galactus, and the Skrulls. It defies laws of physics, and it can retroactively alter reality without creating diverging timelines. All in all, it's basically a catalyst version of Deus Ex Machina personified, a cosmic plot device if you will. It first appeared in 1991's K-Star issue 18 and for the most part was involved in the Cosmic Heroes stories, so it's safe to say that the chances of us ever seeing Origin make its way into the MCU are slim to none. Moving on to number 4, K-Star. Speaking of, let's take a look at K-Star, the cosmic superhero. K-Star, aka Wendell Vaughn, became a superhero after putting on the quantum bands, which gave him superb powers and the ability to tap into a luminous energy source called the quantum zone. There has been multiple individuals who have taken up the mantle as well. So why does K-Star not stand a chance at getting an MCU adaptation? Well, the character has a lot of similar traits to others who already exist in the MCU, especially Captain Marvel and Star-Lord. We know that the Nega Bands are something that will never likely see the light of day in the MCU either, since their origin with Marvel's Captain Marvel doesn't seem like it'll ever be explored. So, in that case, why would the quantum bands plans ever be explored. And we already have a quantum realm. Do we want to throw 2 more quantum things into the mix? Plus, if the reports are true and a Nova feature film is in the works down the pipeline, there is a very good chance that KSR will be ignored altogether for the sake of being redundant and unoriginal. Tough luck, Wendell. And at number 3, Sentry. Sentry's got a similar problem to Hyperion. He's very much a Superman type, although much more flawed. Sentry, aka Robert Reynolds, starts off as a middle-aged overweight man who remembers out of the blue that he is the Sentry, a superhero with the power of 1 million exploding suns. He realizes that his arch-nemesis, the Void, is returning, so he attempts to warn several prominent Marvel superheroes, only to discover that no one remembers who the Sentry is. As he approaches each of them, they remember him, all having a specific recollection. Sentry had taught Angel how to conquer his fear of falling. A photo of him won the Pulitzer Prize for Peter Parker, and the Hulk apparently still recalled him, but as the Golden Man. Mr. Fantastic then remembers what happened. Sentry and the Void are actually 2 halves, one and the same, and Reynolds had erased his memory and the memory of everyone else on Earth in order to prevent the Void from coming, as a way to protect everybody. Sentry is a character who is omnipotent, immortal, can warp reality, manipulate on a molecular level, can teleport, has a regenerative healing factor, and of course superhuman strength, speed, stamina, the whole darn package. He is arguably even stronger than Superman himself, so a character with powers that immense would likely require some sort of lead up, similar to how the MCU set the stage for Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet. While Sentry isn't impossible to adapt, it would create a lot of repercussions in the MCU that could arguably disrupt the kind of storytelling that Marvel Studios has set up over the last 10 years. Another reason why we'll never see Sentry appear in an MCU film, or at least have a proper adaptation of him, is that his origin story is so steeped in self-reflexive retconning that in order to truly tell his origin story, it would likely cost Marvel Studios and Disney a whole lot of money on cast and visual effects alone, raising the question, would a Sentry feature film be worth it after all? And at number 2, Namor. Namor the Submariner is arguably one of the biggest players in the Marvel Universe. He's the king of Atlantis, or you know, at least Marvel's Atlantis. Anywho, he is one of the publisher's oldest characters, being the OG anti-hero and also technically a villain when he first popped up in Timely Comics' Motion Picture Funnies Weekly back in 1939. The hero with a short fuse has been a member of the Avengers, the X-Men, the Cabal, the Defenders, and most importantly, the Illuminati. So why hasn't he appeared in the MCU? Or at least have some sort of mention of him? Well, that's because the rights to the character are a bit complicated at the moment. Universal allegedly still holds the rights over distribution for Namor, while Marvel's chief creative officer Joe Quesada has stated a few years ago that he believed Marvel Studios got the rights back. He does have a bit of a history of crying wolf on that specific topic, having been proven wrong a few years prior about Namor's rights. Marvel Studios have remained silent on the issue as well, so it seems that there's still some fussing that needs to be taken care of before we get to see Marvel's King of Atlantis make an appearance on the big screen. And finally, in at number 1, the Micronauts. The Micronauts are a superhero team that first appeared in the pages of Marvel Comics in 1979 with their own self-titled solo series. They're based off of the Mego Micronauts toy line, and the comic existed long after the toys themselves were cancelled, carrying on to 1986, with other publishers then getting the rights in the early 2000s. These heroes originate in the Microverse, aka the Quantum Realm, a name change that Marvel Studios had to make because they don't actually own the rights to it. It's for that very reason that we'll never see the Micronauts in an MCU film. Hasbro Studios and Paramount own the rights for a live-action movie, having announced in December 2015 that it was actually in development. Despite that, the Microverse has a very long history in Marvel Comics, with it first appearing in a 1943 issue of Captain America Comics in a 2-part story titled The Princess and the Atom. Back then, it was a subatomic world known as Mita. Later, the name would be defined when the Fantastic Four visited it in the 1963's Fantastic Four issue 16.
In at 10, Ego. When the mysterious cosmic being known as the Stranger visited his home star in order to conduct an experiment that would eventually cause it to go nova and destroy the twin planets orbiting it, the scientist named Egros started to work on a way to save his race from the impending doom. On the eve of destruction, Egros had his people moved to bunkers that he had set up at the planet's core to protect them, but things began to go downhill when the sun went nova earlier than expected. With no time left to seal the chambers and assure the survival of his race, Egros tried in vain to reach the underground vault before the solar shockwave could hit him. However, this was not the end for him. Egros was soon merged with every living thing destroyed by the sun, including his race, so that's how the Stranger made Ego the living planet. A second living planet, also known as Alter Ego, was created by the Stranger as well under unknown circumstances and then given to the Collector. But I mean, come on, a living planet? That's weird. That's weird. In at 9, the Batman Who Laughs. The story of Batman from Earth -22 is not much different from that of any other version of Batman. When he was a boy, Bruce Wayne watched his parents get killed in an alleyway, vowing to take vengeance against crime. He trained for years to become the hero of Batman, fighting supervillains in Gotham City. But everything went sideways for this Batman when the Joker started a spree across Gotham, taking down everyone he could. The clown had discovered that he was dying from the same chemicals that turned him into what he was, and wanted to take everyone with him. He killed all of Batman's enemies, including the Penguin, Catwoman, Killer Croc, and the Ventriloquist, and the Joker also killed Commissioner Gordon, who had accidentally sprung an acid trap in his notebook that melted his face off. Very Raiders. After destroying a hospital and recreating the scene of Bruce's parents' death in front of him multiple times, Batman finally lost his control and broke this Joker's neck. Unbeknownst to Batman though, the Joker had exhaled a toxin that he had contained within his heart that infected anyone close to him if he had died, which in this case was Batman. This caused Batman to snap and basically become the new Joker, which after he took over Earth -22 and then gained cosmic powers. So yeah, that's freaking nuts. Plus, this dude just looks crazy. He's like very, what's the one with the pinhead? Hellraiser. He's very Hellraiser if you look at him. He is. And it ain't Chaos King. Amatsu Mikaboshi, revered as the deity of evil, chaos, and the stars in the Shinto faith of Japan, occupies a unique position in the cosmic hierarchy. Despite not being classified as Amatsu Kami, the primordial entity exists as an embodiment of ancient malevolence and was eternally imprisoned within Yomi, the Shinto underworld. Originating as an extension of oblivion, the cosmic force represented the void, preceding the birth of the universe. Amatsu Mikaboshi embodies the primordial darkness and chaos that predates creation itself. As a counterpart to eternity, its power was diminished upon the emergence of the universe, leading to its integration within Shinto cosmology. According to Shinto lore though, during the time when Earth was an unformed void immersed in primordial darkness, Amatsu Mikaboshi held dominion over it. However, the elder deity of Gaia within the Marvel universe, taking the guise of Azanami, and the youthful Amatsu Kami known as Azanagi, wielding the divine jeweled spear, united to shape the islands of Japan and formed the formless abyss. This act of creation ended the era of the Dark God, but I mean still, he exists within Marvel and is a villain, so how are you supposed to fight literal darkness? This is like Supernatural Season 9, okay? You're fighting God's sister basically. That's how I see this, and that's nuts. That's insane. And it's 7, Bizarrenage. Bizarrenage has got to be my favorite amalgam villain at this point, okay? Because I can't believe that I didn't know this existed prior to a couple of lists ago, okay? A combination of Bizarro and Carnage, for crying out loud, is like the best thing ever. Introduced in Spider-Boy #1 from 1996, Bizarrenage was made through a botched experiment at Project Cadmus in an attempt to replicate alien DNA. The white goopy creature they created went crazy and began destroying everything and everyone in its way. Then Spider-Boy arrived and battled him. So Bizarrenage wanted to be Spider-Boy, so he tried instantly to kill him, but was eventually defeated by getting tricked by Spider-Boy and sucked into an energy containment unit. This thing looks like if Anti-Venom was Carnage, and honestly, I could not be happier because this is such a badass character. I wish that there was more of him. I love it so much. Okay, I can't believe that this exists. This is so dope. I kind of want to cosplay this, if I'm not gonna lie, okay? There's not much about him, but he's still super sexy, because we all like some white goop. And it's 6, Annihilus. Annihilus is an interdimensional insectoid conqueror and tyrant hailing from the Negative Zone, a pocket dimension located on Earth 616. When Annihilus discovered the opposing force, the Negative Zone's counterpart of the power cosmic, after long years of failed quests, he finally had the power to fulfill his dreams. With an entity named Ravenous who wielded this power, he invaded the positive matter universe through a portal known as the Crunch. Many worlds and many heroes fell before the Annihilation Wave, and the Annihilation Wave was Annihilus's interdimensional invading force. It was an incredibly powerful force which laid waste to galaxies, slaughtering numerous worlds, and had captured or killed multiple cosmic beings. And Annihilus came close to accomplishing his goal of destroying everything, even taking several Galactus heads, but by that I just mean like heads of multiple versions of Galactus. However, he was ultimately unsuccessful, but he came even closer to winning and destroying reality in What If Annihilation Story, which I hope we get to see in the next season season of the Disney Plus series, since that actually takes place shortly after Civil War. But okay, come on. If you have a whole wave called the Annihilation Wave named after you, yeah, you're good. You're on the list. Halfway through, into number 5, the Negative Speed Force. The Negative Speed Force originated as an extra-dimensional wellspring of energy that Eobard Thawne tapped into during his quest to gain superhuman speed. Speedsters who are connected to the Speed Force can, through intense fear, hatred, and anguish, forge a connection to the corrupted force known as the Negative Speed Force. This malevolent entity harbors a deep-seated grudge against Barry Allen, holding him responsible for the demise of his own embodiment, and in the CW series, in an act of retribution, the Negative Speed Force orchestrated a plan to make Barry relive the tragic day of his mother's murder through a convergence of circumstances and a mystical blue crystal tied to the Negative Speed Force. And Barry was transported to March 18th, 2000, the fateful day etched in Barry's memory, to ensure this prolonged presence within that era and the trauma of that day continuing on for a while. The Negative Speed Force disrupted a temporal wormhole that Barry sought to utilize his return to the present, but they stopped him from doing that. The Negative Speed Force seized control of Joe West, Barry's trusted ally and basically father figure, but also his father-in-law, which is a whole other story. But the Negative Speed Force used Barry's friends to try and attack and destroy him, which is insane, okay? I honestly didn't expect the Negative Speed Force itself to be a villain, but hey, it happened. The show's in its final season. It's fine. It's allowed. And at 4, Ultron 1. This is probably the most insanely overpowered version of Ultron that we have ever seen before, and it's coming from the MCU no less. Oh, and spoiler alert for those who aren't caught up on the What If Disney Plus series, but I mean, it's been out for a while, so it's your own fault. The history of Earth TRN 906 was the same as the MCU until Ultron was able to secure what would have been Vision's body for himself. Ultron managed to download his consciousness into the synthetic body that he had created, thus killing the Avengers and decimating life on Earth. After killing Thanos and taking the Infinity Stones for himself, Ultron remakes the universe in his image. He decimated the Earth, absolutely wrecking everyone in it. He even killed Captain Marvel, Hulk, and Thor, and eventually discovered the Watcher and the multiverse. This version of Ultron literally sliced Thanos in half with the Mind Stone, which revealed that the biggest mistake that anyone made in the MCU was destroying the Mind Stone. But after gaining all of the Infinity Stones, he goes shot for shot with the Watcher, who is a literal cosmic entity that shouldn't really have a true corporeal form, but yeah, hot damn, this is overpowered to the max. This dude is, yeah. Getting close to the end, in at number 3, Mr. Mxyzptlk. Mxyzptlk possessed reality warping powers, with which he enjoys tormenting Superman, or making life difficult for him. But I mean, come on, okay? This dude's getting on this list. His portrayal has been varied, with him being an outright supervillain sometimes, an anti-hero others, but in most of Mxyzptlk's appearances in DC Comics, he can be stopped by tricking him into saying or spelling his own name backwards, which sends him back to the 5th dimension. Yeah, I'm not even kidding. And then he has to stay there for at least 90 days. That's 3 months, bro. Come on. Okay, what is this? The American justice system? Put him back for longer. But after Crisis on Infinite Earths, he had a new requirement that needed to be met in order for him to be sent back, such as Superman getting him to paint his own face blue. I don't know why, but like, this is one of the few villains that uses Superman's other weakness, magic, against him instead of just kryptonite. But like, come on. Okay, this guy just has the ability to warp reality and do whatever he wants. And then since he comes from the 5th dimension, he isn't bound by the laws of 3-dimensional beings, whatever that means. I guess this dude sees polka dots as like 3rd dimension stripes. Also, bro, what's with your name? Okay, I get that it's supposed to be hard to say, so that it's hard to say backwards, but cut a guy some slack. You're not Rumpelstiltskin. Okay, just chill. But ultimately, in at number 2, Galactiac. A combination of Brainiac and Galactus, the seemingly ageless entity known as Galactiac is the ultimate synthesis of mind and machine. He traverses the farthest reaches of space within the Amalgam Universe, draining the lifeblood of planets in order to recharge his energy cells. But Galactiac does not completely obliterate the planets that he raises. Rather, he always miniaturizes a section of each planet to preserve and to study. Ben Grimm from the Challengers of the Fantastic attempted to destroy Galactiac's machinery, but Grimm's actions merely succeeded in gaining getting Galactiac's attention and arousing his wrath. Galactiac used his cosmic powers to transform Grimm into the monstrous four-armed thing, which was a mindless minion devoted entirely to Galactiac. Meanwhile, the Guardian had transported Johnny Stormtrooper into the body of the Galactiac in order to destroy the planet-devouring menace from within, which is just nuts. His first appearance was in the Challengers of the Fantastic #1 in 1997, and honestly, this is one of the scariest beings in the Amalgam universe, okay? Brainiac and Galactus are already powerful on their own, but combined, sweet heavens to Betsy. No thank you. And finally, in at #1, Brothers. The Brothers stand as cosmic beings representing the DC and the Marvel universes, symbolizing the vast multiverses that embody them. These entities possess such immense power that even the Living Tribunal and the Spectre pale in comparison. While referred to as brothers, they transcend traditional gender roles because, you know, they're just gods. They're literally just the universes anthropomorphized, okay? During the dawn of existence, they were just chilling, okay? They were like entirely everything save for each other, and they're actually villains within the Amalgam Universe storyline. What the hell? You are literally fighting your universe. Do you understand how stupid that is? I mean, it's kind of stupid in a good way, but also stupid in like a what the hell, who would have thought of this kind of way. I mean, I love it, but yeah.